The Saints Row reboot looks very concerning. Volition seems very hard set on this new, hip, funky take on Saints Row, which on the one hand I can respect. However, there seems to be a lack of open-mindedness to the criticism that fans have been giving since they've seen the trailers, along with being under some delusion that what they're doing is new and interesting, when in reality it's neither of those things, by the looks of it. When I initially saw the trailer for this Saints Row reboot, I didn't think about some modern action-adventure third-person shooter. Instead, I just got the vibes of some generic 4v4 multiplayer game, and I don't really know why, but I understand my logic in how I got to that point. Nothing about this Saints Row reboot from what we have seen, and granted we have seen very little, so it may be unfair to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, seems new. It seems like something we've seen before by a million other franchises, and in my opinion, it seldom worked. I think what I'm trying to say is it just seems concerningly like a Ubisoft game. And by that I mean it overemphasizes some millennial subgenre of action-adventure games to the point where it's just outright annoying. And in the process of doing that, looks completely uninspired, as it's typically utilized as a smokescreen for patronizing and pretentious vapidness. Naturally, a lot of people share these very concerns, and that's what makes it seem like maybe this isn't going to be the right move for Saints Row. Saints Row in the past has thrived on a bold usage of sense of humour, and perhaps an overuse of the colour purple at times, as well as the occasional delve into ridiculousness that got a little bit more frequent. But in what we've seen of the promotional content for this new Saints Row reboot, there appears to be a huge emphasis on this modern, wacky game, and I don't really understand what value that has when simply too many franchises are already doing that. And so what you get is a game in which 4 friends start a criminal empire to pay off their student loans, which is a weird description that I've heard a developer use with regards to this game, and I'm going to be very honest with you. If you were the head of a criminal empire, I doubt you'd be worried about paying off your student loan. I think that was likely more used as an example than a driving narrative choice for the story of this game, whatever that happens to be. But I feel like there's going to be a huge misunderstanding on how to use relatability to appeal to players by going all in on that and completely removing the escapism. You can make characters relatable through emotions, through dilemmas, through situations, but what games like this seem to do far too often is give characters too many problems that aren't dissimilar to problems faced by a lot of people, especially younger people today, which is an invitation to throw rationale out the window and have absurd character arcs that don't make any sense to facilitate the premise of a pointlessly ridiculous narrative and by extension a pointlessly ridiculous game. Put it this way, nobody rationally will start a criminal empire over having student debt, and while that story concept that 2 + 2 = 1,000 isn't always poorly done, it's often done very flippantly in a way that is used to simply be an excuse for the game to be utterly ridiculous. And if that's the premise of the game, with these games that I'm going to use the word woke, I hate that word with a passion, but we're going to go with it because it's the only word that I can think of. But with these woke games, what they often find themselves doing is having to rely entirely on their usage of humour. But in order to appeal to as many people as possible, this humour is very surface level and very meaningless and can often just not be funny outright because it's too broad, it's too general, and it's not deep. Because people are diverse, and in that diversity are different senses of humour, so what one person finds funny, somebody else may not. And so games like this often try to please everyone, and in doing that, they just please nobody. And so a concern of mine for Volition and Saints Row is that they're going to shoot themselves in the foot with the wackiness because they can't actually go too deep into it to keep it mindless and unstimulating to avoid having a niche. And too many games that have looked like this and been marketed in the way that this is being marketed have done that. So off the back of everything I've said, a concern that a lot of people are having is that this Saints Row reboot just looks boring. And from where I'm sitting, I wholeheartedly agree. And Volition has been openly dismissive of these concerns, which just aggravates people more, responding to one person's tweet with a response that I can only describe as arrogant, which reads, "We are not backing down on this game, we get it, it's new, and it's a shock reaction to a reboot like no other." It's not, because we've seen it a million times! The GIF was supposed to convey that. The GIF in question was a response to a prospective player's concern, simply saying haters gonna hate. For one, if that's the kind of humour we can expect from this Saints Row reboot, then the concern I raised not even a minute ago is well founded. But also, it doesn't convey that you're not backing down on the game and that it's a reboot like no other or anything like that. You're just dismissing somebody's criticism. Constructive, if not a little unrealistic at this point in development at that, criticism. And if that's the kind of reaction to concerns that we can expect from Volition, then why should anyone have faith in this even more bland-looking Watch Dogs 2 clone? Because that's exactly how this game looks, and you simply cannot afford to alienate your prospective player base before the game even releases. And that is precisely what this type of response to criticism does. A better response would have been, we understand your concerns, but we're not backing down on this. We have a clear vision for the game we want to make, and we're excited to share more. Because if that is the case, then I at least respect that Volition is giving the appearance that they know what they're doing and have a clear vision for the game, and you can achieve that without arrogantly dismissing the concerned proportion of the Saints Row fanbase. However, they've fluffed that line, and now anyone with those concerns with half a brain cell is no longer interested in their game at all, because it's very obvious that Volition is not open to address their criticism, and that it's likely that the game won't cater to them either. And I think that's a really shitty way to treat your fanbase, because in reality that should be your core audience. Yes, you can appeal to broader audiences. Yes, you can change the franchise up to also appeal to broader audiences. But you shouldn't do that to a point where you're alienating the fanbase, because at that point you're only really using the Saints Row title to generate sales, and you may as well slap a different name on it. And the fact that you didn't could be a further insult to the Saints Row fanbase, depending on how this game actually turns out. Personally, I have no hopes for this game. I have no interest in making any more content for it. I just wanted to get my thoughts out because I felt I needed to. I felt I had something to say. Maybe later on down the line, this game may prove itself to be more worthy of my attention, but until then, I just simply don't give a shit. Granted, we haven't seen very much. There's no way to fully understand the scope of what Volition wants to do with this Saints Row reboot, so I'm not going to say the game is going to be bad. All I'm saying is the game doesn't appear to be something that I'd be interested in based on what we've seen, which is a shame because I really enjoyed the old Saints Row games, and based on the reaction to fan criticism, I don't think anyone owes it to Volition to show us what they have planned. There are simply too many games releasing in 2022 that I'm excited for to pay much more thought to Saints Row, so that's where I'm going to leave this video. So thank you all for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed or found it useful in some way. Be sure to go ahead and leave a like, subscribe, share the channel with your friends and all that wonderful stuff if you really want to. That would be super fantastic. And with any luck, hopefully I'll see you all very soon with another video at some point. But until next time, take care and goodbye.